Okay, hello everyone. We're very pleased to meet Mr. Patrick Meade here today in London English School. Thank you very much for coming today.
My pleasure.
Okay, and so the first question for you as a citizen of the USA. So, why are you here?
Well, what drew me to Novosibirsk?
Yeah.
The passion to teach English as a second language in Russia. I really did not want to teach in a large city in Russia such as Moscow or St. Petersburg. And I knew that the further east you went into Siberia, probably the less or the fewer native English-speaking teachers there would be. And Novosibirsk being a large city, I thought that opportunities would be here to teach English, and they have been in the 3 years I've been teaching here.
So did you enjoy that?
Yeah, and I continue to enjoy.
Okay, great. So maybe the question that is very interesting for students or for people who are learning English at the moment or who want to learn English is how can you bring out from your theory English to your practice? Because a lot of people finish schools, universities, they study English there and finally they can't speak. So what can you tell about that?
I think as a native speaking teacher of English, my most important job is to take the theoretical book knowledge that the student has and elicit, to pull out from them that knowledge, transferring it into what really needs to be practical everyday communication. Of course, it's difficult when a student is learning, in this case, a second language in their native country, of course, in a country where English is not the primary language. It would be easier for the Russian student to use his or her knowledge of English while living in London or New York.
Yeah.
But still, while we're in the classroom, switch off the Russian, switch on the English, and for me to really pull out this book knowledge and turn it into conversation. Easier said than done, but where there's a will, there's a way, and I think I can help the student.
Okay, and how do you usually do that?
Okay, I would say one way is to have the student listen to me, repeat my pronunciation, kind of mimic my pronunciation. And then it is up to the student to take what he or she has learned that day in the classroom and to practice during his or her own time. So if we were having conversation about something to do with traveling, that's, let's say, just, okay, what do I do when I enter a hotel and I have not made a reservation? I need to make one now. That student cannot freeze but needs to speak. I would give that student the approach, just what is needed to, in the hotel setting, to get a room, and I would have the student just, for example, repeat dialogues after me and role play.
So it's just like you create this situation.
Good way of saying it.
Okay.
Create the situation.
Okay, good. So, so what are the most common difficulties among Russian students learning English, from your experience?
The TH sound is difficult. I know words such as that, thought, is very challenging. And I know, Maria, you had just mentioned that if the th sound becomes difficult or too difficult, maybe switching it to more of a d sound. And I think that works. So if saying that book is mine, maybe it's a little more, it will be easier for you to maybe say something like, that book is mine.
So it's better than that book is mine or that book is mine, which is like classic example of Russian accent.
Very good. That is, I think it's very true.
Because I remember when I was in the US, when you tell, I'm from Russia, they always say, ah, right, correct, this is it, or something like that. So even they know what Russian accent is.
That is true. And it is, you do hear that, you said that or that. So maybe the d is a little better choice when trying to pronounce words with th or the th sound. Also, the either absence or leaving out of one of the three articles, a, an, or the overuse of the article. So knowing when it's needed, when it is not needed. And I teach my students, if in doubt, leave it out. So I think you're better off not using the article than using it if you're not sure.
Yeah, like the Novosibirsk, for example, I hear that often.
Right, which is grammatically incorrect. And sometimes there's no grammatical rule, but we say the United States of America, but yet we don't say the Canada, which is our neighbors to the north. Another difficulty that I can think of is the panic when the Russian student knows there's only 3 tenses in Russian and up to 16 tenses in English. So try to relax in that area, because there is debate as to, are there really 16 tenses in English? If you search English tenses just via Google, you will see debates. Oh, there's really only 6, or yes, there's really 6 workable tenses. Okay, maybe 9, maybe 12, maybe as many as 16. I can assure you that you can comfortably speak English at a native level, and native is the highest level you can reach, by using probably 6 tenses. So don't panic about all of these present perfect continuous. You probably can speak I could put you in America and you could live just fine not using present perfect continuous. Although it's a good tense, and I do use it, it's not necessary. So I think that's a good point, that don't panic over the tenses.
Yeah, because the common question students ask, like, why do we need this present perfect continuous? Can't we just use present perfect or, I don't know, present continuous or something? Like, not present perfect mostly. Like, why do we really need this tense? Yeah, so I always tell, like, you should know it, but you can live without anyway.
Good point, Maria. And yes, I think it's very important to understand that a more advanced tense, like present perfect continuous, simply allows you to speak about more action within the context of one or two sentences, where if you used the less complicated tenses, it might take you 3 or 4 sentences to get across the same point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So those 3 areas, the TH sound, the articles, and the tenses would be I think the big challenges.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and what are your tips for students? So, people usually ask, how much time do we need to get intermediate level?
And I can understand the student asking that question. I would say that you need the mental stamina. And another word for stamina is the patience, the mental patience to come here to London School. And we're speaking intermediate level, so if your level is just, even if it's beginner or, excuse me, the next level would
Elementary?
Elementary. Build from where you're at. Try as much as possible when you come into the classroom, put your Russian aside, switch on your English, and think of it as small steps leading on the road to the level of intermediate. And it'd be difficult and probably unfair for me to say how long will it take. It's more a question for the student. I say that the teacher is about 25% responsible for the student's progress, and the other 75% rests or lies with the student. So it's how badly do you want it? How badly do you want to reach the intermediate level? To give you a concrete answer, I think if you are diligent in practicing at home, doing your home tasks, coming to all your lessons, putting forth good effort in the classroom, I think a elementary student can reach a conversational level of that of an elementary student. I truly think maybe within 6 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm. 6 or 9?
6 to 9.
6 to 9.
Maybe upwards.
Because at first I heard 6 to 9.
Oh, 69. 6 to 9 months,
Yeah.
maybe upwards to a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it depends on motivation.
Yeah, motivation is the key.
So, what is the best way to improve your vocabulary? Here in Russia, when you don't practice English every day, but you really want your language to be richer, yeah, better, how should you improve that?
Okay. Great question, because once you have the grammar down, which the grammar is the building block for any language, next, of course, grammar teaches you how a sentence works, and you need the right word order, especially in English. Word order in a sentence is so important. But then, once you have the grammar and the how English works, then the key is to build your vocabulary. And I would say that even at minimum, if it's one new word a day, okay, that's 365 new words a year. And I've learned that I call it a word bank. Okay, so you're depositing words into your bank, which is up here. 5,000 words will give you, will allow you to have basic everyday conversation. So you definitely want to learn at least one new word a day. Sounds easy, but it still might be a challenge for some. And then to use that word. So use the word in context. And if you, outside of the classroom time, if you have no one else to communicate with in English, then you communicate out loud to yourself. When I began learning elementary Russian, I spoke to myself. I took my lesson, I took it home with me. And what did I do in the morning? Я вставать. Я приготовлю завтракать. Just I would speak to myself using new words that I learned from the lesson. But of course, you cannot just bury the new words, because you need to use them in context. So because you won't remember them. So use them at home. Speak out loud to yourself. And I do say speaking aloud or out loud to yourself, even looking in the mirror, is a very good approach.
And many people say that you should watch English movies, listen to English music. That helps a lot. What do you think about it?
I agree, especially using that pause button. So you're watching a film, you pause, you hear a new word, it's in context, you write it down, you back up again, you listen to that word again. Sure. It's a great way.
Okay. Very interesting. Okay, so thank you very much for coming today and sharing your experience, knowledge. It was very interesting. I think people who are interested in improving their language, or maybe they want to start learning English, you kind of motivated them that they can reach intermediate level in 6 or 9 months. That gives hope. Thank you very much. And you can follow us and see our next episodes with interviews with great teachers and scientists of Novosibirsk talking about English. Thank you. Goodbye.